how did that all unfold today?
Well, he just said that he felt like it was a great opportunity for him, and he wanted to, explore that opportunity and go down that road. And this was the timeline we had talked about. I'd been somewhat vague in terms of being this week, but between him and I, it was Monday, and we were going to move in one direction, and he, as a program, and he was either moving in that direction or he was moving in a different direction, and that's where he was this morning, and that's where he is.
What did you tell him when he told you he was leaving?
Oh, I just wished him the best. I told him, and I think it was mutual. We just thanked each other for, in a sense, what, he thanked me. He's very grateful to, what we've been able to do as a program for him with the opportunity, recruiting him. He's always been that way. Every year he comes in and gets into a long dissertation about that, how much he appreciates that. But I tell him the same thing. I'm realistic to understand that, my livelihood, our livelihood, everything, sometimes, there's guys like him that lay it on the line to help us as coaches, as a program, get into certain positions too. So I'm grateful for that, and what he's done for our program. But at the same time, it was a moment when now we each need to, move forward, and I wish him nothing but the best.
What was your appeal to him? When you had a chance to kind of maybe make your appeal, what was your advice from that standpoint?
I wasn't really trying to make an appeal, and I talked to recruits about that. I'm not going to sell you. This is the data. This is who we are. This is what we are, and we want you to continue to be a part of it. But if you feel like, it's not going to be what's the best way I can say it, a begging world or that, and it's not even that way with recruits. My deal was to provide as much data for him. In other words, there's still certain hoops just because, certain things are a certain way. You just don't know how, the next 6 months, the next 9 months, the next 10 months are going to go. So that's the only thing. I just tried to provide him as much info as I could based on, I haven't had a situation quite like this, but there have been other situations where guys have talked about, going to the NFL, whether it be Taiwan or Kaufman and different guys, and it's not the first and won't be the last that, transfers happen. This was just a unique one, so we just tried to dive into all the pros and cons of it. But the best thing I can say is, you know who we are, Vern, you know what we're all about, and you have to decide, what's best for you in the next 10 months.
Well, an obvious, kind of strange, awkward question, I guess, first game of the year. I mean, how weird is that going to be?
Yeah, that throws a little piece into it. It's a little bit different, and sometimes I almost, when I'm thinking about this whole process and everything we're doing, I try to almost not think about that as much, because that's not, that ultimately still, it's not going to weigh I don't want it to weigh my thoughts. I wouldn't want it to weigh. I want it to still be the right decision one way or the other, regardless whether we were the first game. But it's just one of those added pieces to it. So that's kind of like what we talked about today. Okay, then you got to go. You're on that side, so to speak, that way. And again, except for that one game, yeah, I'll be absolutely pulling for the kid and the young man. In that way, but that piece adds a little bit to it, but that's fine.
One of those hoops is graduating. Where's he
Yeah,
sitting on?
And I don't want to get into a lot. That's for Vernon to answer.
Yeah.
In terms, I don't want to speculate on all the, the what he needs to do. All of that. That's for him. That's his deal, and that's what he has to, kind of work his way through. But the one thing I'll tell you, he's not sitting there right now with a degree in his hand. I'll tell you that.
What's the challenge of the position he's in now, not having a sprain, getting into the summer, and a high-level program, a lot of competition, a new offense to get acclimated to?
Yeah, he can comment, deeper on it, but he's got a lot of challenges in terms of, the hoops he needs to jump through to make sure he can get that degree in a timely fashion. And then, yeah, you've got a new offense, you've got new timing with receivers, you've got a new lay of the land, everything, and you've got a short time to be able to get that dialed. So that's, what I would say that to anyone, whether it be Vernon or anyone else going into a situation. You can sometimes be the most talented, but there's still a lot of other pieces that come with it. So, but those are, like I said, those are challenges, and I don't blame him in some respect. He's going to bet on himself, and that's what makes him great too, but there are times where, there's still nothing's sitting here right now a slam dunk, no matter what. So it's just, but that's for him to, to kind of, work his way through over the next so many months to put himself in the best position possible.
Bill, this is the guy that brought a lot to your athletic department, exposure-wise. You guys had a website created for him. I mean, you guys really marketed him well. What does the athletic department, change gears now? How does this affect you?
Yeah, I was going to mention, as Beau was saying, what he did for the program, really what he did for the department, the university, Cheney, and Greater Spokane. I mean, holy cow, he's done just a fantastic job. How many student athletes football players have won back-to-back Offensive Player of the Years in the Big Sky and finished second with Peyton Award? So what he's accomplished in 3 seasons is many more would like to accomplish in 6. So he's done an incredible job, and we'll move on. As I've said to a number of our peers, as I was at the NCAA meetings last week, amazingly, we will play 11 on 11 next year, and we will play with a quarterback. I think. Is that right, Coach?
I think so.
Great.
What do you think about the rule that the NCAA has to you can transfer after you graduate as a fifth year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very well-intentioned rule. I really do think the legislation, when it was put together, it was for all the right reasons, and I think much like probably almost a tax loophole. I mean, I think we've probably gone into a world that we probably didn't intend, and my hope is that we take a hard look at the transfer rules, and because I know this, I think there's some data out there. I don't know specifically what it is yet, but I'm not sure how many student athletes have actually gotten their graduate degrees since this legislation has gone into action. And so at the end of the day, we probably need to take a hard look at it as an association. Now, those are the rules we're playing by right now. And so it kind of certainly put us in kind of an interesting situation, but when you have student athletes succeed at a high level, I guess we'll take this every day to some degree because we've got student athletes achieving.
Beau, as a coach, what do you think about the rule and maybe should it be changed?
I think Bill hit it on the head in terms of this wasn't the intent of the rule. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of those deals where as a coach, yeah, there's some human sides that come into it, and I just, I'm all about, Vernon having a great senior year and having some success, but there's going to be times where as a coach, yeah, it frustrates you. This is the guy that we recruited. This is the guy that we developed. And during that 3 to 4 years, obviously, Oregon doesn't feel like they recruited or developed a guy to the same level that we did here in Cheney, Washington. So I'll be honest with you, that can be a little bit frustrating. And I would ask the question because I don't see myself, finding my next QB at Linfield, in that regard. So that's where I'm at with it.
What's the message from you to your team going forward without Vernon?
My message is that we have a number of guys that are going to step up, no matter what the situation, no matter what. We saw Vernon go out for 4 games last year, and except for one point road loss in which Jordan did a lot of great things, in that game, we could have been 4-0, with Jordan. And that doesn't mean that it won't be still an open competition. We have a number of guys. We know Vernon's leaving at some point. We want to keep being prepared for when he does. Just the same way Urban Meyer was prepared this year to keep moving forward when he lost his guy and then his second guy. So that's where we are. That's the message going forward. The things Jordan did in 4 games are as good, if not better, than some All-American QBs I've had here in their first 4 starts. So we're excited about it, and and our guys that way are going to be pumped up for, in a sense, a new challenge.
What is this experience? You haven't been to this before. You mentioned this is the first time you had to deal with something like this. Will that impact your approach and that sort of thing going forward when you come into a situation like a player like this? Do you go into it maybe knowing that this...
Do I not try and develop them to...
No, not from that standpoint, but knowing that once I get to this point, you might have to deal with this again, and does that affect anything for you, I guess?
Like kind of what Bill said, I hope that the rule is such that this doesn't set some sort of precedent or, as far as something that becomes somewhat common, because this isn't what it's for. And yeah, there's some personal sides to it when no one else but one of their Big Sky schools is recruiting a young man, and you go in there and get that done. But that's kind of out of your control, in some respects. You say, going forward, we're gonna, like Bill said, it's a compliment to us that you feel like you need to come into Cheney and get this guy. It's a compliment to us. So I think we're gonna go on as business as usual in terms of trying to find guys, develop guys, and take them to a level that where other schools, the other programs, even at a whole nother level in every single way, still feel like that guy can help us. And we take it as a compliment.
You mentioned an open competition. Do you go into spring with Jordan as your number one quarterback, or is it?
Yeah, that's a good, it's fair. He'll definitely, when the balls are rolled out day one, he'll be in that number one huddle. I mean, I don't see anything change in between now, and he's earned it. He's been here, he's started some ball games, he's 3-1 as a starter, and on top of that, he's also in those four games, done some really good things. But what it does is it's different than Vernon coming in as a starter with 3 years of experience, All-American. It's just a different feel than, for the group as a whole in terms of that. And Jordan knows it. Jordan and I had a conversation a week ago, and I said, hey, I'm excited for you either way. We talked about that. I mean, something could happen where Vernon goes down in fall camp, and all of a sudden you're the starter game one anyway. So I want you thinking that way anyway. But at the same token, you just got to know this is going to be a dogfight, and he knows that. He gets that. I don't think we wouldn't be doing a good job, in my opinion, recruiting over the last 3 or 4 years if I didn't have a dogfight at that position going on right now.
Good, anything else to add? Good, thank you.
All right. Thank you.